All websites should look the same. Let me explain. The best way I can explain what I mean is with a janky analogy about restaurants. If you imagine restaurants on a spectrum with like McDonald's, KFC and all that fun stuff at the bottom end, and the top end being those crazy, really out there restaurants, the kind of places where it's pitch black and a blind waiter shows you to your table, or Heston Blumenthal is serving you edible glass.
Our invisible desserts have arrived.
Somewhere in the middle of that spectrum is a typical restaurant where you walk in and you get shown to your table. With the vast majority of these restaurants, say between 5 and 70, you know exactly what to do. Whether it's your local pub or a fancy restaurant in another country where you don't even speak the language, you can go in there and get some food inside you. The reason is these unspoken universal conventions that restaurants follow, and it's exactly the same with web design. At the bottom end of the spectrum, you have Wix and Squarespace and the like. Like McDonald's, it's cheap, but in certain situations, it's exactly what's required. At the top end of the spectrum, you have crazy out there designs with unconventional functionality and groundbreaking design and animation. Now, these are the kind of sites you might find on awards.com. Make no mistake, they're stunning and a truly memorable experience. But like a fancy restaurant, if you just want to get some food in your gullet, they're a pain in the arse. That brings us nicely to that middle ground again, that 5 to 70 range. Just like a typical restaurant where you walk in, a waiter shows you to your table, takes your drinks order, blah, 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 you know exactly what to do. There's a header section at the top with a logo, a menu, maybe a basket or a count icon. Then as you move down, you have a hero section, either with a grid or a large image. Maybe then some social proof, featured products, category links, blah, 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 blah. And then you have a footer with some extra links, contact and company information, and so on. The reason these conventions became conventions and weren't just some fad like Crocs or Apple Maps was because they actually work. It's easy for users to navigate, understand, and most importantly, convert. Speaking of Apple, they're a company that walks this fine line absolutely perfectly. They have gorgeous animation and exciting stuff to look at, but where it counts, it's boring. They have a fairly standard header section. Once you click through to one of the purchase pages, the fancy animation is gone. It's a conventional, simple layout with the main purpose being to take a user to a customer. Imagine if these pages or the checkout process was as adventurous or bold in its design. You can bet their conversion rate would drop hugely. So if you're building a website, bear these conventions in mind. Don't be afraid to copy, steal, duplicate, or whatever you want to call it, as it's so important for the success of your website that it looks the same as every other. Within reason, obviously, don't be a dick about it. Cool. Stop. Google, no! Google! Hey Google, stop! Fuck. Hey, maybe some of my Crocs.